as you know, on Tuesdays we bring in one of our favorite guests and really part of the family at the breakfast table. He is a 5-time Super Bowl winner. He has won many awards, and he has also been a gift to our show. Let's bring in our guy, Scott Pioli, from the home office, wherever you are, Scott. Welcome to Good Morning Football.
Still in Atlanta right now. Peter, thanks very much. Good to see the crew this morning. Thanks for having me again.
Great to see you. You're in Atlanta, but let's talk about Philly, because Nick Sirianni, the first-year head coach, had another wonderful press conference where there were sound bites to digest. And one of the things he said is that the quarterback position will be a competition. I think a lot of people who are looking at that depth chart are seeing Flacco is really going to compete with Jalen Hurts for the quarterback. Like, what did you make of a first-year coach coming in and saying, no, it's actually going to be a competition. We're not just going to hand this to Jalen Hurts?
So, Peter, I worked with Nick Sirianni for 4 years, and I really believe that Nick is telling the truth and is telling his truth. Nick is all about competition. And I think you need to take one step back and look at it from the head coach's perspective. It's his first year with an organization. He's trying to instill competition being the truth. We all know that it is a meritocracy in the football. We'll follow up on that later. Now, Nick is going to give the job to the player that gives him the best chance to win. Does he hope and believe that it's going to be Jalen Hurts? More than likely, yes. But we're looking at a player who's thrown less than 150 passes in the NFL. Is Joe Flacco a top starter? Absolutely not. But he has experience, and he may need to be the player that launches this team. I'm not jumping on either side. I think what Nick is just simply trying to say, listen, I'm not going to just give the job to anybody here, because Jalen Hurts, right now, we're not talking about Tom Brady. We're not talking about Drew Brees or Peyton Manning or Patrick Mahomes. He has to earn his way. Is he the hope for the future? I definitely believe that. I think Nick believes that, but he's going to make his team earn everything that they get.
Yeah, Scott, you're talking about the meritocracy, and that's, listen, the coach psyche, right? I mean, we saw Joe Judge do this last year, too. They came asking him about Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. He wouldn't name a single player for the first 4 months because he didn't want that sense of entitlement or for it to be bigger than the team. But let's take a little trip up. I know we're talking about the Eagles, we're talking about the NFC South. Let's talk about what just transpired in the NFC East. The Washington football team. Ryan Kerrigan has been a member of that team for 10 years. He leaves there. He goes right up 95, and he signs with the Birds. Take us through, all right, you're Howie Roseman, you're the Eagles. You're trying to lure Kerrigan up. Are you telling him, hey, look, you get to play your old team twice. You're going to get to go against some of your boys. Is there luster in that? And then take us through Washington's side as well, knowing that, hey, we lost this guy, but now we're going to have to face him and try to figure out how to block him.
Yeah. I think from the players' perspective, Sean, that they always like to be in a situation where they can compete against a team that has told them essentially one way or another that they don't want him. Either they've traded him or let them go. But I think from the team standpoint, the way we look at it from a team, from a leadership group, because at the top, whether it's the head coach and the general manager, whoever that leadership group is, you are paid to win football games and make decisions that are best for the franchise. So when you're looking at trading within the division or letting a player go that's going to end up in the division, you can't allow yourself to get caught up in those emotions. You have to compartmentalize what you believe is best for the football team. Again, you have to separate yourself from the fandom. Now, you're usually letting a player go or trading a player because you think you have something better and or you can't afford the player. So in this situation, I remember I go back to the 2002 season, after we won our first Super Bowl and Tom Brady had established himself as the starter. We knew that Drew Bledsoe was not going to be our starter. He could start in the NFL. So we had to trade him. Now, the Buffalo Bills offered us a first-round pick. If there was a team in the NFC that was offering us a second-round pick, we had to ignore that because we had to do what was best for the franchise. You don't want to play against players that you know are good players, but the backside of that is that you actually know that player a little bit more intimately and may know some of the things you can use to defeat him. So what you have to do as a leader is maximize your opportunity and get what's best for your program at that moment, Sean.
It's well said, Mr. Pioli, waking up with Good Morning Football. It's a weird time in the NFL calendar. We're here picking which NFL player would win Survivor. We'll, of course, see some fun workout videos from players before they hit training camp and all that. Talk to me about the front office. What are teams doing in this sort of post-draft stage, and what kind of changes or analysis are going on behind the scenes at this point?
Okay, initially after the draft, the first thing that happens is a team generally has to do a self-scout, right? We always have players and coaches doing a self-scout about what did we do well, what didn't we do well. So right after the draft, what I would do, and what most teams that I know would do, is do that self-scout. Do a self-assessment on the process of how you arrived at free agency and how you went through the draft. What did we do well? What didn't we do well? Now, we don't know how the players are going to work out until the season, but you need to pay attention to your process, because processes allow you to come to the point where you can make a decision. So you look at the process and you see what was done well and what wasn't. Then you need to look at yourself very strongly, and you talk to some of the people that are closest to you within the organization, including the owner, and try to get feedback from them and see how you can get better yourself as a leader and what you can do better. The other things happen at this point in time, Kay, as you briefly mentioned, is there's a lot of change, unfortunately. You know, at the end of the season, that Monday after the season, there's a lot of coaches that lose their jobs. Unfortunately, this is the time of year where there's a lot of change within personnel departments. General managers that were hired earlier in this year, in this cycle, are now pulling in people that they want on their staffs. So this is an odd time where there's a lot of people that are not headline names, and they're not the people that a lot of fans know about or followers of the game. But unfortunately, this is a tough time right now where people are losing jobs. And then on the flip side, fortunately for others, it's a time for opportunity.
One of those who got an opportunity, Scott, was Kelly Klein. The Broncos just announced her as the executive director of scouting and special advisor to the GM. What I love having you on here is you can help us pull the curtain back a little bit. What exactly does that job entail, and what did you make of the announcement?
Well, first of all, Jane, what I like about this is you all talked about this earlier, and we mentioned the word meritocracy at the top of this. So Kelly Klein is a terrific scout. She's a terrific evaluator. She's a hard worker. She's really smart. And this is another case where meritocracy is at work. You've got George Payton, who spent 10 seasons with her, knows her very well, knows what she can do, what she can't do. He goes to another franchise and promotes her and brings her in. And again, this is just another terrific example of someone who is comes from a group of people that's marginalized within this game, but gets an opportunity, works her way through the process, and gets herself to another team, and where it's truly a promotion and a position where she is moving up for all of the right reasons because of her qualifications and because she's good at what she does. So kudos to George Payton for doing that. Huge kudos to Kelly for being so good at what she does. But the other person I want to give a shout out to is Rick Spielman, because Rick has been doing the work and making sure that he's been giving people that don't look like him opportunities for years and years in terms of gender, but also people of color. So kudos to the Vikings organization and Rick Spielman, and now the Denver Broncos. But Kelly, go crush it.
Amen, Scott. Rick, one of the great men of the NFL, and has been opening doors for people for so long. Scott, before we let you go, I see Yogi Berra and Casey Stengel over your shoulder. My favorite Yogi Berra quote: "When you come to a fork in the road, take it." And Scott, we appreciate all your Pioli-isms over the years. And thank you for joining the show. Great stuff as always, man.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you. Have a great week.
I have a question.